Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Board Game Barbecue, episode 356, brought to you by Advent Games, More Than Meeples, and our patrons. You've got Conor here in the host chair today, and I am running solo, but I am not on my own. I might be the only Board Game Barbecue host here, but I'm joined by two of the greatest, currently, I believe, board game designers and developers that Australia has to offer to launch our Oceania Month. I'm joined by Matthew Dunstan. How you going, Matt?
Hi, Conor. Nice to be here. Thanks.
No, it's all right. Pleased to have you. And, of course, Phil Walker-Harding.
Hello. Thanks for having us.
No, it is absolutely my pleasure. And the amount of times I see both of you together, it's like, you know, how you sometimes you just refer to like two people, like, and they just become one entity. That's like, oh, Matt and Phil. It's Matt and Phil. Like, it's a package.
We're the Laurel and Hardy of
yes,
Australian board game design.
We need a good one of those, mashed together names.
Like Benefer.
Benefer, yeah. It doesn't quite Mahil or no. It's like
I was going to go with something, but I was like, oh, that might be a little bit. Yeah. Anyway, so
we could just make it a triple barreled last name.
You sure? Or what if you? Yeah, that's right. Or put together your last names would be cool. But it is Oceania Month, so all this month we are talking to Australian board game designers. So, like I said, we are super, super lucky to have Matt and Phil with us this evening and coming through your ears. Really excited. But first of all, Matt, how has life been treating you?
Oh, that's very kind of you to ask, Conor. It has been quite a month for me. We have just moved house about a month ago. And I'm only slightly getting over that. So I'm sitting in my sort of half furnished studio with an empty fridge hole behind me, as we were talking about before the start of this podcast. But otherwise, life is treating me fairly well. Thank you. How about Phil? How are you going, Phil?
Oh, thank you. I'm fine. Yeah. Been busily working on lots of different projects to start the year. Still doesn't feel like the year's really started, which is a bit of a shame in March. But doing as usual, lots of different board game projects all at once, and mostly having a great time.
What do you mean?
You sound really lazy, Phil. Like I didn't even mention doing it.
I was wondering what you meant by doesn't feel like. Is your Christmas tree still up? Or
no.
Like...
I think as with every year, you begin it, well, at least I do, and I think, okay, this year I've got a plan. I'm going to stick to this plan in terms of time management and the projects I'm going to do and how many I'm going to take on and all that stuff. And it's March, and I feel like I'm just still figuring that out. So that doesn't bode that well. But it's good to have lots of different things to work on. But yeah, as a freelancer, sometimes you just need to be a bit more intentional with, what you do and don't take on. And I always find that a bit tricky, especially when a new year comes around.
Well, I find it difficult as well because you're always, dancing to some publishers' timelines. Sometimes, I don't even feel like I have quite as much control over my workload as I might like. I mean, I'm not complaining either. To have that problem is already a good thing, but
no, it is interesting. There's I feel like there's a bit of a tipping point in a game design career where you go from desperately seeking the attention of publishers when you start out to being a bit of a known quantity, and so publishers are coming to you with things more often, and there might be a series of games you're working on or an old game of yours coming back into print, or they just want to pitch an idea to you, and so you have to suddenly get a bit better at managing those relationships, which didn't really exist when you started out. So yeah, that's something I think you just have to kind of learn as you go along. Well, at least we seem to have had to do that.
I'm not sure if I've learned, but it sounds like you're doing a better job than I have, Phil. So,
yeah, well, we'll touch on that a little bit later because I think that's quite interesting. But I think that actually ties into what we did want to talk about today. And of course, we have our first Designer Day coming up for PlayCon, and of course, it's being hosted by these two very fine game designers and game developers, and of course, just amazing human beings too. And we thought we might give the audience a little bit of a taster for what they might be store for? And maybe just wet the whistle a little bit, maybe.
Yes, we'd love to wet the whistle. Well, so Matt and I have watched what PlayCon's sort of done around Designer Alley and encouraging designers. What you've done, I think, is really great. And not only has been of a good quality and really been a great avenue for new designers, it's really built community as well. And so I think looking at that, we thought, I wonder if maybe the two of us could put some time into it as well and maybe give it a little bit more of a shot in the arm of that community building aspect. Certainly Matt's early game design career, I know, started in a rich community of local designers, and that, I think, was an inspiration for what we kind of wanted to help maybe try and build a bit more of in Australia.
Yeah, I was really fortunate when I moved to the UK that not only when I lived in Cambridge, there was an amazing playtest group there, but there were a number of different events that would happen throughout the year. I think the thing when you're a designer, the most common way that you meet up with other designers, you're always playtesting each other's games. And that's the bedrock of being a designer. And it's a fantastic part and a very necessary part of that. And it's also great that designers often are happy to reciprocate. We'll playtest each other's things and help each other out. But you don't get that many opportunities to meet other designers in a professional way, where you're trying to get better as designers, but you're not playtesting. You're doing something else. You're actually getting to talk to each other. You're getting to ask questions. You're getting to learn from each other. Because playtesting can be a bit all-encompassing. And I think of a few events in the UK. There was one I believe it was called Play. I might have that wrong. It was an unconference, and the idea of an unconference is basically where the attendees determine what's going to be talked about. So they can propose different sessions, and anyone could propose a session, and they'd be all in different rooms, and people would just start chatting with each other, and you get these amazing opportunities and sort of circumstances that would happen where somebody was thinking, I have this incredibly niche thing I want to talk about, and then they realize there are like 3 other people there who want to talk about the same thing, and you've just found these other kind of needles in a haystack. And there was another thing called DevCon, and that was an amazing, again, networking opportunity with lots of little talks from designers where everyone would try and pass on a bit of wisdom, a bit of knowledge. And I think PlayCon had already done an amazing job, actually, of starting to do that other side of sort of networking thing. There was a really great networking event for people who made Designer Alley on the night before that Phil and I had gone to a few times. And you could just see that when you're chatting with these designers, I think everyone was getting so much out of even that interaction. And so the designer day for PlayCon this year is trying to build on that feeling and build on that idea of building up the community of designers in Australia and making as many people feel like they're a part of that community, that they can contribute to that community, and they can also get something out of it to improve their own practices as a game designer.
Yeah, I mean, I think looking at Designer Alley and then, like you said, those kind of incidental conversations that people have with both of you, I think they do get an incredible amount out of it. And I think you guys have a wealth of knowledge to offer, because I know for both of you started when, and I've talked to both of you about this before, you started when, it wasn't a very, a common thing for Australian game designers to be able to launch their games. And I know that both of you put in lots of work, whether that was going over to the UK or self-publishing or things like that. So I think it's going to be an incredible wealth of knowledge for these other designers to have this day with you.
Yeah, I'll admit, part of it is like putting something together that I wish existed, 20 years ago. Because, when I first started designing around 2006, it was like just a lone hobby, and the thought of it being a profession where I could go to a conference just wouldn't even have really entered my head. And obviously things have been building since then, and it's great to see. But there's something really valuable about just getting together with peers and going like, we all love this and we all take it seriously. Let's talk about it. Let's share. Let's grow together. That's something that's so important for any creative pursuit. And in Australia, it seems like it's particularly tricky to get going because our capital cities are so far apart. Mm-hmm. You can't all just say, hey, let's meet up. Let's do a meetup somewhere. Like, it's a harder thing to kind of pull off logistically. And because PlayCon's, I think, done the best job that I've seen of an Australian con at attracting people from across the country and even the world, it seems like a great launching pad to go, hey, this is also the place where if designers are going to be there, hey, we should all get together and use it as a bit of a hub for the design community.
So what can people expect for when they come to Design Day, or what types of things are you guys hoping to provide these budding designers with?
I should note that it's all a bit provisional. We've got a good idea of how it's going to run, but we're still sort of chatting with other people who are going to be involved and sort of confirming exactly what they're going to be happy to do. So listeners, don't take this as gospel, subject to change. But we wanted to have a mix of different types of experiences and activities. The first big thing is that actually, this was a good year to start it because it's also the year that PlayCon has started bringing over some really huge sort of international guests, people like Andrew Bosley, people like Cole Worley, and already we had some other giants coming like Ian O'Toole, for instance, who's been a regular. So we're hoping that in the first part of the day that there'll be a few talks or seminars or sort of discussions. We imagine there's going to be definitely one about design, and we're hopeful that people like Cole and Shem can hopefully contribute to that. We're looking forward to potentially having a really cool illustrator graphic design kind of roundtable discussion. People like Andrew Bosley, Ian O'Toole, Rory Muldoon will also be there. So we're actually kind of quite jazzed because you don't actually normally get illustrators, graphic designers coming to game design sort of things. And I think
for sure.
understanding the connection between the two, understanding how best to work with a graphic designer or illustrator if you are a game designer, I think it's going to be, I personally am quite looking forward to that because I know personally in my relationship with Rory, for those who don't know, Rory and I started Postmark Games together, so we're a company that does print and play games. I've learnt so much in terms of making games with someone who is so talented in graphic design and illustration that we really work together to make our games, and they inform those two disciplines inform each other. And I think there's a lot that can be fed between those two communities and two professions. So I'm really looking forward to that. I'll throw to Phil if you to the next type of thing.
There's also going to be like a pretty substantial Q&A time. So we want people to be able to ask the questions that are really important to them from like a whole panel of the guests, which will be really cool. And also, as Matt mentioned, we're going to have a bit of more of a free form kind of session where people can sort of volunteer topics they want to talk about, find people who are also interested, and then we'll kind of split off into groups, probably with a more experienced person in each group as well. And we're hoping that that'll be a time where people can find other people with the same kind of specific interests as them and perhaps find collaborators, but also just get to talk about that really specific thing they want to talk about. You often go to a conference that's in your area and you might come away thinking like, well, that was all like good information, but it didn't quite hit me specifically as an individual. And we think that time might be a really good time for that to happen. So yeah, it's going to be a mix of like traditional talks, Q&As, panels, and kind of a more free-form session.
And also a lot of time around that for just conversations, like I don't like the word networking, but it basically is sort of old-fashioned networking and really trying as much to like, the day is we're not sitting down for 7 hours in a row, there's lots of time in between everything and time put aside for people to just sort of naturally, bump into each other, start conversations, even just get to know each other, as Phil pointed out about the design community in Australia, we're really spread out. You might know someone, but you might only really know them from online interactions, seeing them in various forums on Facebook and so actually even just getting that time, physically together, get to know these other people a little bit better can be hugely beneficial and just help you feel, like more a part of this community overall. So yeah, we've tried to ensure that there's plenty of breathing room in the day for those kind of like happenstance, serendipitous kind of interactions and ideas.
Happenstance and serendipitous in one sentence, Matt.
I mean, I should get some points. I get 5 points for Gryffindor.
Were they on your like word calendars? It's like, okay, I got to say happenstance. I got to say serendipitous. I didn't say serendipitous last week, so I got to say it this week. Yeah.
Oh, I see. If you run a podcast, that's dangerous, though. Like it's, I have to drop all my words into my 1 or 2 episodes, that I get a year. So
Well, I mean, you have your YouTube videos too.
That's
that you
true,
can do
but
that
but then it just seems like I'm just sitting in a room by myself, just reciting large words, and that's not.
There's nothing weird about talking to yourself. I do it all the time, and it's not even just onto the microphone. So, what are you guys looking forward to most about the design day? So, what are you hoping to see, or is there anything that you might have had your eye on?
I think meeting Cole will be really exciting and interesting. Yeah. He's definitely a real kind of individual in the way he thinks about game design and publishing. So, and I've never met him at all, so it'd be really fascinating to catch up with him. And I think also I think there's something about new designers. I have a bit of a theory that most people who are into board games probably have like a game design in them. Like they might not become a designer, they might not want to do it as a thing, but they have an idea, a little sparkly idea that just has come out of their own personality as they get into games. And I think meeting with new designers, that's the exciting thing for me, is that sometimes you come across this super creative, out of nowhere idea, that maybe someone who does it for a living is just never going to, stumble into. So it'd be interesting for me to see what people are working on and just what fresh ideas are out there. Because we get inspiration from other designers all the time. So, and that's no different if you're a new designer. So looking forward to that as well.
I think I'm kind of looking forward to maybe not living vicariously through others, but I'm kind of excited that this sort of new tranche of Australian designers who have started getting their games published internationally, I feel like this is also an event where they can kind of get a bit better known, for their accomplishments so far, and the fact that they have a lot of really valuable information and design skills to also contribute to the community. I think in some ways I feel like it's a point to recognize that, the community, the design community is bigger than just Phil and I or a few other big names. And that's actually an amazing thing. That's a thing to celebrate. And I especially, I think of people like Jay Ben Dixon, Ryan Boucher, Eris Haller, who's self-publishing stuff. This is
Carl Lang.
Yeah, Carl Lang. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I was as you were talking, I was thinking of Carl, and I didn't say. Sorry, Carl. This is it's like the new wave, I guess, so to speak, of Australian game design. And I think an event like this is where I think there could be some recognition of that, and just as all those newer designers come through, they're going to be the people they'll look up to potentially, rather than like the dinosaurs that we are. I don't know.
Dinosaurs.
I think, it's funny. Phil's talked about like designing be a bit of a lone pursuit for, and I think that's a really true thing. And I think you don't get to enjoy that experience or where you've sort of come. And I kind of am looking forward to celebrating with these, especially all those folks who've been able to get games published a lot since I've seen them last. All these people I don't get to see very often. So I think I'm kind of looking forward to that, I guess. I know that doesn't really relate to the whole design day thing, but it's part of the community, I guess.
Well, yeah, if you told me 10 years ago that this event would be running, I'd be super excited, because there just wasn't momentum in that direction happening in terms of a like cohesive community, really. And it seemed like it was particularly hard for people who live outside of the US and Europe to get in front of publishers to pitch their games. And that some of those barriers have been broken down quite a lot in the last 5 years. So I think you're right. Like there will be a bit of a celebratory aspect, I think, when we can look out at, everyone there and go, wow, there's actually something really great happening in Australian design.
I mean, I feel like even since, I've had the pleasure to be part of the podcast and just seeing different people come into the design space and knowing that people like yourselves and Martin and things like that have been doing it for a long time, different amounts of time. But, just the support and the different groups, in each of the different cities, there seems to be like sort of, each of the different major cities, there seems to be, groups getting together. And I think that sense of development in each of the cities is fantastic. But now having it all in one space, like we have had with PlayCon. I think it's like you guys said, it's just been really nice. And it's something that I know when I speak on behalf of the rest of the crew that we're really proud of. I feel like we've always tried to champion Australian design. I hope that's always come through, and support both those who have already fully formed ideas and games on the market, and those who want to test them or to see if there's something there or whatnot. So yeah, no, I'm super excited. It's going to be great. I don't know about you guys. I always say I just love walking past Designer Alley and seeing the different ideas. It's just great. And people who now I'm friends with and I'm happy for them and proud of them. Do you guys feel the same way? Like you would know lots of people who have won lots of different awards, like including yourselves. Do you have that same sense of being of pride and joy when you see other people succeed?
Oh, definitely. I mean, there's just so many amazing people in the industry, and kind of outside of how good they are as game designers, they're just amazing people that I feel very lucky to know, and you just want them to succeed in life, So whenever you see that, and to see it in kind of the same field that you work in is just incredible. I'm there for that, really. I think the other thing is it can even, what's the word, like rekindle your own enthusiasm for it all as well. I know Phil and I have talked, sometimes off and on about, I've famously talked about burnout, but not famously, but at least on my own channel. But that
famously, then really famously,
yeah. That's in retrospect that sounded rather grandiose, but no, I had a meeting for a new game that we're about to sign. It's with 3 other Australian designers. It'll be their first game. And I was in the first meeting with the publisher where we're talking about, what's going to happen with the game. And they were just so enthusiastic, so interesting, asking really interesting questions, so excited to see where the game will go and how it'll be developed. And I was just sort of reflecting on that. And I was like, wow, yeah, that's what it kind of used to feel like, when it was all new and it was all open and it's a bit different now when you've done that thing, a lot of times for different projects. And I think celebrating other people's successes and seeing them forge their own way, their own path through the industry, that reinvigorates me, I think, in another way. I get as much out of it as they do. So I feel really grateful to call many of them friends and just wish them all the success, basically. Sorry, I spoke a lot, Phil.
No, I agree. I mean, I think of Craig Summerton.
Oh yeah, how could I not say Craig? Oh God, that was sorry, Craig.
A guy I've seen at conventions and game days for 15 years or something, and just so happy that he's sort of found a little niche for his own design work and sort of found his voice, beyond just playing games. He's sort of now making them, and there's lots of stories like that, and I think it's always great to see someone take that step into design with success. Yeah.
And also, if anyone is wanting to design a trick-taking game in Australia, you have to talk to Craig because he is the oracle.
He's thought about it.
Yeah, and in a really interesting way, and it's come up with his own amazing games. And Craig personifies someone who's just an incredible human being, and I wish him also. Yeah, he's amazing.
And again, someone who we've loved championing and had on the show, and
exactly.
He started off, and we all left sort of the first PlayCon saying Dino Tricks is this amazing game, and then he then went and had it signed off by Grail Games and all that type of stuff, and obviously then got re-titled into Farmhand, but the game's, it's, as we said, the game's still there. But it's been fantastic. Look, we've talked plenty about the design, so thank you so much. It's great. We're really excited about it, and that was going to be. But I actually wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about what you've been doing lately. Matt, you mentioned your show, your YouTube show. So this is something that you get a chance to self-promote.
My famous YouTube show.
Your famous.
Get the right adjective.
Yeah, sorry, famous. I'll scratch out the other 4-letter word I was going to say there, but no. So you started this last year, is that right? Tail end of last year?
Yeah, I've done it about a year, yeah.
Yep, cool. So I'd love for you to talk about what that's been like, and if it's been a great process for you, and that'd be awesome.
Gosh, I should ask you how you've managed to get to 356 episodes of the podcast, because I think it's been a pretty whirlwind experience. I mean, I'm sure as you would attest to with starting the podcast. You kind of just start and you sort of learn as you go along and you put it all together. And I'm not pertaining that it's a particularly professional set of YouTube videos or anything, but I think I just I knew that I got into this industry through other people helping me, basically. Whether it was people who are happy to playtest with me, who were like one step ahead of me. The first playtest group I was really, really part of in the UK was with Brett Gilbert, and at that point it was just the two of us, and Brett had just signed his first game. He was just one step ahead, and I got so much from that. So many people would give your contact for a publisher if you ask, or because they've just known that one person 5 years ago, or you got so much by people helping you. That's what I still love about the industry. I think it's really genuinely a very friendly industry on the professional side. There's not a lot of like trade secrets. Everyone's pretty happy to kind of share information. And I felt like, giving back to that, and being that person, like the people who helped me. If there's some way that I can transmit some amount of my knowledge, and not just even the knowledge, because I think there are a lot of game design, a lot written about game design, and a lot of existing media podcasts, videos about game design, board game design, but also just a little bit about what it is like to actually be a game designer. How does that look, mentally? What does it feel like? How do you? Because I actually think, probably like a lot of careers, but especially a creative career, you get better as you stay in the thing. Like you're going to naturally usually get better at the craft as you keep doing it, as you practice it. But the thing that'll keep you doing in it is kind of how you mentally stay in it. How do you keep doing the thing you want to do? And so that's why I also just try and advocate for, better standards for designers so that more people can become full-time designers. So, you don't have to wait 5 years to see any money from board game design, which, is pretty much what you normally have to do. So it doesn't have to be the old joke of like, how do you make a lot of money in board games? You start with a fortune kind of thing. That we sort of raise the bar of the discourse, and actually it's a multi-billion dollar industry, board games. The people who are fueling that should be making money. We should kind of expect that, and people should feel like they can get in the industry and make money. So anyway, it's been a lot. I hope I am going to be able to keep doing it. But yeah, that's why I asked about how you managed to keep doing the podcast, because I think that's the only thing probably right now that I'm sort of slightly struggling with, is just the pace of feeling like you have to, every week get a new idea. And I've actually really realized recently the difficulty is that it's another creative thing, like coming up, talking podcasts, making videos. It's a creative pursuit. But I've now taken on another creative pursuit on top of a creative pursuit that is my job. And it's like, I'm not sure if I can quite manage it. So I hope I can stay up with it. It's been really humbling also just talking to people who've said they really enjoyed the videos. And so, yeah, if anyone's out there's watched it, thank you very much. Yeah, you're great.
Phil, do you watch them?
one word review.
Not every single episode, no.
Oh, Phil, disappointing. No.
But your topics are often very interesting. So it's always interesting to see your take on things, even though I know you, to actually see you have to articulate your opinions for half an hour, and you're very good at it. So it's been good to see you doing it.
We can test out an idea. So Conor, Phil and I have actually talked for a little while about starting a podcast of our own, actually. But we can't quite figure out exactly the format or what we want to, because what I always like when I get to meet Phil, and I think I find it a great privilege, like since I've moved back to Australia, I just love what we chat about. It's, it's sometimes it's design, sometimes it's sort of adjacent. I think it's what I would want to listen to if I wasn't in the conversation. So it's finding a way to kind of transmit that out, but we're working on it.
I mean, like I think with that, sorry, I feel like I cut you off there, Phil. So you've presented at PAX, you presented at PlayCon, you presented, I'm sure you presented other places, but they're the two that I can think of where I've seen you in and talked to you in that, listened to you in that formal way. And then I've also had conversations with you, the infamous beer funnel or whatever it was, where we said that Phil drank the whole funnel of beer. That we had that, and those conversations were fantastic. So I think that I think people would be, it's same as your videos, Matt. I think people would just be really grateful to hear two well-respected designers who have, seen the hobby grow in the way it has, and just your opinions on things. I think people just like to hear opinions. Even if they're crap like mine, people still just like to hear opinions. So, yeah.
Because, Phil, you haven't done as much sort of your own media, so to speak.
No, I've written design diaries. I suppose that's the closest I've ever gotten to putting out content about being a designer. But I think things that just sort of demystify and help people get a sense of what it's like to design is kind of what we want to do. But just finding a format that isn't people yammering away about their own problems. So if we can nail that, I think it could be a good
Maybe
thing
it's like two men yammering about their problems. Is that like
yeah. Two men shout at clouds.
Yammering is a good one-word title for. I don't mind that. That's like
Two Men Yammering is literally the best name for a podcast, and I would listen to that because, I don't care. I don't care what they're yammering about. I'm down.
That just sums up podcasting in general.
Yeah.
But I think lots of people are like, hey, we should make a podcast, and people are like, I don't know. But I think if you guys are like, we're thinking about make a podcast, most people are like, yes.
Well, I think the other point of it I realize is that I just like chatting with Phil. I feel like the more and more I think about this content, you have to kind of enjoy what you're doing. I presume that part of the reason Board Game Barbecue is going so long is that you actually, somewhat like each other, and you like talking with each other, and you like having this thing to work on together. And so, for me, it's just an excuse to be able to hang out with Phil, I think.
Thanks, man. You don't need an excuse.
no, well, but that's it. Yeah, it's you realize that's important. So, yeah, we will see what we can do.
Well, that's exciting. Maybe we can do like a team up, like an Avengers style, joining crossover. Crossover.
Three men and a woman yammering or something.
Oh god! People, let me know in the comments, guys. Are you sick of hearing my voice? Because I've been on the last 3 episodes. I think it's just white noise at the moment. People will listen to this episode, it'll just be like this gentle hum, and then you guys will speak, and then a gentle hum again, and then you guys will speak. So yeah,
you're how people get to go to sleep. Like that's the sort of like you're so calming.
I love that. That's good. I can be that for people if that's what people need.
I think they've recently. I heard. I'm not sure if you know the shipping forecast in the UK. It's where they go through the different. And the BBC has released especially it's all the shipping forecasts or samples of it over the years because they've had different presenters with a musician I think it's like some sort of DJ trance or something. So they've created this sort of ambient shipping forecast fall asleep music. Amazing. And it's incredibly popular apparently, and it's on channel Radio 4 or whatever at midnight, and anything can not to make you not feel special, Conor, but it's a good niche to be in. It can be very popular.
It's been a long time since I felt special, Matt, so it's okay. It's no, I'm kidding.
You're very special, Conor.
Thanks, thank you. I'm doing the little heart thing, the one. Yeah. Well, look, it would be silly of me not to have both of you on the show and give our listeners a little teaser about what you might have been working on. So, Matt, what's been percolating for you recently?
Recently, I am working on the latest Postmark game, which we hope to be able to release later this year. I've been quite inspired by Orleans, actually. So the clue I could give is the game is somehow, if you think about, if you were to take a common household object, because often Postmark we rely upon common household objects that you might have lying around your house, and Orleans, that's the mashup that we're working on at the moment.
Amazing, yes.
So we'll sort of see how that goes, but it's not actually finished. I'm trying to think. It's a really funny question. I don't know. I wish Phil had answered it first, because it's like you've got things you're working on now, which you sort of don't even know if they're any good. So you might just be talking about something that will never ever see the light of the day. You've got things that are coming out, games that have just been published, but of course, I worked on them several years ago. And then you've got games in the middle that are being developed, but you normally can't talk about them yet because they're... So in terms of a game being released, there's a game called First Giants that's starting to get previewed at different fairs. And it's a bit of a spin-off of Elysium, which was a game that Brett and I had designed over 10 years ago now.
Yep.
So it's a sort of streamlined take on that system. So we're kind of excited to see that go around the different conventions this year. I think there'll be a proper release in Gen Con or something like that, but it's at Cannes at the moment. So yeah. Phil, how would you answer that question about what you're working on?
Yeah, it's a bit awkward because it's like, do you want me to plug a new game?
Yeah.
Or do you want me to tell you something that may never come out?
You made me plug a game like an ass.
you do whatever you want to do, Phil.
Well, something that's, just being shown at Cannes right now is a new game of mine called All In, which is a card game which is sort of based around, it's sort of a mashup of poker and a hand building game like Fantasy Realms. But you're also trying to predict, you don't necessarily win by having the best hand. You can also get a lot of points by predicting who has the best hand. And so it's this really quirky, different vibe. So that's just starting to come out. So I'd be really interested to see how that lands because it feels to me like one of my more quirky game designs. What I'm working on, well, I can't say too much, but there's a big project in the Sushi Go universe, if eating sushi is a universe, that I've been working on for months and months. So we're kind of just wrapping that up. So that
is it Sushi Go Legacy, Phil?
It is not. Oh. It is not. That's just going to a sushi.
I was going to say that. I mean, that's like
you eat it, it's gone, and then
it's just
some more comes along.
It's an excuse to go to all these different sushi restaurants every week, like.
So there's that. Yeah. So that's something that's been a big thing. Another thing I've been thinking about a lot is I just got the rights back for Archaeology, the card game, and I'm weighing up what to do with it. So like I could just try and get another publisher to be interested, but I'm weighing up if I want to rework it, retheme it.
You can't take away the sandstorm. No,
also,
you can't.
The really interesting thing is it's essentially my first published game, and then I got to redesign it for a new edition in 2016, and now it's 10 years later, and it's kind of fallen in my lap again. So it feels like another chance to look at it, and part of me wants to go, like I did in 2016, well, I've learned more about game design. I can improve this, and part of me wants to do that with it. And part of me wants to go, it's got to steal one card from an opponent card, but people seem to like it. So just put it back out. So it's interesting to think, is the charm of the game some of its silly edges? And is that what people actually like about it? And quote unquote improving it might actually take away some of that personality. So yeah, it's been a funny game that sort of I've had these 3 bites of the apple with. So been thinking about that.
And Phil, you haven't mentioned the latest Joey game, which...
Oh, yeah. I should mention the latest Joey game. Oh, it got stuck in customs over Christmas. So it feels like it was done. It was done, months and months ago. But it's quite new in stores. The new Joey game is called Wombat Poo. Yes, and it's a stinky stacking game where you're stacking cubes of poo, actually wood, don't worry. And it's a push your luck game where you're letting the tower get as high as it can before you bail out and score 1 point per cube before it falls over. And so, it's a really fun, it's in a tiny little box, smaller price point for Joey games, but we're really happy with how it turned out. And so that's in stores around Australia now.
Has an absolutely adorable wombat on the front cover as well.
Yeah. Yes, Meredith's illustrations are very cute.
Yeah, what kind of publisher are you, Phil? Really? God, I mean...
Well, look, I'm sure you feel the same way about Postmark games, but having a publisher do marketing is a blessing. You don't realize how much of a blessing it is until you have to market your own stuff. And you realize it's an incredibly different skill set from coming up with the game, not unsurprisingly. So no, marketing is not our strongest suit.
No, it's not why we got, it's certainly, I don't think it's the reason Rory or I got into it either necessarily, but you wear as many hats as you have to.
Yeah, that's right. You just end up wearing hats you never thought you would wear when you're a publisher, but hopefully we can get much better at that.
Very good. Very good. Well, I'm excited for all of those games to come out. I'm especially excited about All In, Phil, because I quite like the game. And I like the idea of
Yep.
working out the strength of a hand. And I think that it feels like just by what you're talking about, it kind of leans into that where you're trying to work out, okay, what's the strength of this person's hand? Am I going to bid with them? Or are they, like, is the idea to bluff as well?
Yeah. So you can definitely bluff. You get some advantages for like essentially kind of going out early, and you may or may not have the best hand when you do that. But yeah, it was cool. When the game came out, it was really interesting because it felt like a completely different take on the same almost design question of like, how can I take poker and make it not just about having a good hand, but actually something to do with intuiting what people have from the play. So very different like answer to that question. It's cooperative for one thing, but well, I hope you like it. Let me know what you think when you get to play.
It's great. I got to play this. It's fantastic.
And of course, anything with Orleans. I played Lightning Train a couple of weeks ago, and that used the bag building mechanic too, and that just a different way of using it. The same way that Orleans did and Quacks. So yeah, that'd be cool.
You know that game you've been wanting for a long, long time? The one that's been on your wish list for ages? Yeah, that one. The one you've been adding to your cart and taking off again, umming and ahhing about whether you should get it or not? Well, I'm here to push you over the edge and say go to adventgames.com and add that to your cart right now. I bet you that Dean has a great price on it, he's got great customer service, flat rate shipping, and there's so many other goodies to explore on the website. Wonderful categories all organised to pick the exact game that's right for you and the group that you play with. So head over now, don't hesitate, to adventgames.com.au and add that game to your cart now.
Well, what we might do is, you've talked about the games that you are making. Have you guys played anything? I know you're always playing your own stuff. Have you guys played anything recently? Anything that's piqued your interest, Matt? There's no more oaths, by the way, so you're safe.
Oh, thank goodness. Thank you. It's so sad to say I can't remember the last time I've actually played a game. But I've packed a lot of games into boxes and looked at them wistfully as I've moved them, but I've sadly not got to play anything.
That is so sad.
I know. I mean, it's the kind of moving and having a young child, and so a lot of excuses. But hold on, no, wait, no, I can say one though. What is Millennium Blades? I got to play Millennium Blades, which it's probably a bit out of character for me, because I think as the years have gone by, I've been playing less and less longer games. And it was kind of mind-bending in a pretty amazing way. Phil, do you know the game?
You told me about it after you played.
Oh, yeah, because I probably
asked
had
you all
to
these
process
questions,
it.
like, is this
How does
for
it
real?
work? Yeah.
Does this work?
I played with... Conor, have you played the game, Millennium?
No, but I've always wanted to.
Well, for all the listeners who maybe haven't played it, it is effectively a game that is trying to mimic the hobby of being into a collectible card game. But it is a game sort of broken into two parts, where the one part of the game is about collecting the cards. So you're sort of trading them with people, you're acquiring them, you're opening booster packs, you're using money, etc., etc. And then you use those cards to make decks, and then you actually play a tournament using the rules of the game within the game, and you play against each other in these tournaments. And you do that, I think, 3 or 4 times. You have these rounds of sort of building a collection, trading, and then playing the tournament. And you get points both for building a collection, which you never use. I don't know if that's a reflection on how CCGs have become, or TCGs have become a commodity, that you build this collection that you can't use in your deck, and you get points for sort of matching sets for that. And then you also get points that you can gain by doing well in the tournament. So that's the high level thing. But then imagine, we played I think the game's been out for a long time now. We played the deluxe version with absolutely everything. The person I played with, it's their favorite game. You know, they have absolutely everything. So he opened up this sort of like, I can't even describe the size of the box. There must have been at least 1,000 cards in this box, broken up into all these different sets. So they have all these different sets within the fictional trading card game, all of which have their own different mechanisms and, you know, in-jokes. And then we decided to play this chaos version, which basically means instead of using, you know, starter decks, or here's the suggested sets you should use, it was like, we're just going to draw randomly from this entire universe of madness. It just blew my head away a little bit. Just hats off to the design of it, because that is a game, if anything, that personifies a designer going, I want to make this game, I want to see it in the world, and I'm going to put my own what I want in that game to exist, regardless of like edge cases or funny little quirky thing. Like I actually more and more I love games that do that kind of show the kind of imperfections isn't the right word, but a bit like what Phil was saying, like, you don't want to polish away all the interesting edges of games. I love games which have those kind of quirky edges. And I think Millennium Blades is like that on steroids. So yeah, it was quite an experience. I would recommend it's sort of on my thing of like games which you should play at least once. I don't know if has anyone ever made like 1,000 games you should play before you die kind of thing. I don't know.
Yeah, that'd be good. And you can like scratch it off as you go along.
Yeah. It's not something I would ever want to play weekly or possibly ever again, but I'm glad that I did play it once.
Yeah, I think that's one of those games it is. It's like everyone talks about or has mentioned it or they've wanted to play it. So yeah, that's pretty cool. What about you, Phil? Have you been mucking around with anything lately?
Yeah, I have been really enjoying Figment.
Okay.
Which is CMYK's redoing of Elysium by Wolfgang Warsch, which is the game where you're trying to guess what percentage of a card is covered in a particular coloured ink. So it's almost a visual puzzle. The original version was similar to playing Timeline, where it was competitive and you had to place the cards in a row in order based on, say, how much red ink is on each design on the card. And these are like very abstract kind of graphical images on the cards. But when CMYK have redone it, they've made it a co-op, which creates some really fun discussion around the table as you are collectively trying to put these pictures in the right order based on something which is a precise number, but you'd be surprised how many visual tricks are played on you just by the way the patterns on these cards are laid out. So it's almost like you're doing like a Rorschach test or something like that together and trying to sort of figure out something visual in this very strange way. And shown it to people who aren't big gamers, and they've just been completely fascinated because it's just completely unlike what you expect when someone puts a deck of cards on the table. It's just so out of the box and different. And the new version is just beautifully done. The cards are like really fun and interesting to look at. And yeah, it's really like nothing else. So that's been a lot of fun.
Have you ever
played this? Did you play Illusion, Matt?
No, I think I saw it being played once, but no, I've never played it.
Well, thank you, Matt, for asking, seeing as I don't have a host to normally ask me. I've actually been doing a couple of things. The first is last night we kicked off a new Dungeons and Dragons campaign. So our friend Tom is DMing. So Tom's talked about doing it and a couple of his mates as well. And we also played through some Marvel Champions together. So we started one of the Spider-Man campaigns. But what I did want to talk about is I played a 5-player game of Blood Rage with our good friends. Have you guys played Blood Rage before?
Yep.
Yeah. So, it's pretty chaotic. It's pretty wild. It's just argy-bargy the whole way. And we thought, you know what? There's 5 of us. Let's play a 5-player game of Blood Rage. And oh man, it was simultaneously like the most frustrating experience I've ever had and one of the most fun. Because what did happen earlier though was it was a really good play, by the way, which is why I was annoyed, but I got over it quickly, was that 2 of our friends, they played one of their combat cards was when they lost, they got to steal rage off me. And they did it twice because I forgot that they get to keep the cards when they lose, right? So that's the whole mechanic is that when you play the card, you get to keep it. So that's why it's so powerful. And so twice I went into combat and they're like, well, we're just going to steal your rage. So I went from having 6 rage to none, which meant that I couldn't, even though I'd completed my quests, I couldn't get them out because you got to rage to complete the quests. And then for the rest of the game, I was just trying to chase uphill, like trying to go uphill, like really long. But it was so good. I still think it's one of the best area control games out there. I still prefer it over the other 2, being Rising Sun and Ra. I think it's really great. And we also played The Godfather, which kind of has that same DNA, but there's a little bit more like questing and things like that too. Blood Rage for me is still one of the best area control games, in my opinion, at least. Not that it counts for much, but yeah. What have been your guys' experience with Blood Rage? Have you enjoyed it? Have you just sort of played it and been done with it, or?
I've played it once. I'm trying to remember it, which not just because it was a little while ago. I think is it Loki? I did so.
Yeah.
Where it's a lot about collecting the cards. All I remember is I sort of stumbled upon this, what was quite a powerful and potentially not imbalanced, but sort of a strategy. If nobody realizes you're doing it or is fighting you for it, you just sort of like collect the cards, and then it just sort of works out really well. And I kind of did that, not really knowing what I was doing, but it just happened that nobody was fighting me over it, and I kind of trounced everybody. It reminded me a bit of Nexus Ops, actually, a little bit. Just like, I think, not only area control, like games which do combat in a really interesting way. I'm not a big fan of the games generally, but I think both Blood Rage and Nexus Ops fall into ones that I think do it in a way that's really interesting and makes it, that just really tense no matter what happens in the results.
Have either of you played Rumble Nation?
No, but I've wanted to. Yeah.
Like, that's my recommend for like a quicker area control, kind of feel like you're playing Risk, but area control game. It's just super streamlined and I found it really satisfying for, it's like 20 minutes or something, but it really gets at kind of the heart of that genre really well.
Or The King is Dead is another good recommendation in that kind of like, also like a kind of 20-minute, really like such a distillation of it. Yeah, I really want to. Is Rumble Nation like really hard to get hands on or something?
I believe it's had a proper North American release pretty recently.
Oh, okay.
So I think that would mean it's easier now than it was.
All right. Well, your chats are always fantastic, lads. I'm just so grateful to be a fly on the wall. It was a bit like, I don't know, is it like Michael Parkinson ever like interviewed two like seminal like legends at the same time? Because it kind of felt like a little bit like that. And if you don't know who Michael Parkinson is, you're probably too young to play board games. Let's be perfectly honest. So that was really good. We'll move on to some news and announcements. So, of course, we've talked about the Designer Day. That is for PlayCon, the 3rd to the 5th of July at the TikTok ICC Centre. They never put on our notes that it's called the TikTok ICC Centre, but I always love to remind people because of the ridiculousness that it's sponsored by TikTok.
Is the whole thing called the TikTok ICC?
It's the TikTok Sydney International Conference, I'm pretty sure. Yeah,
I thought it was just the auditorium was called that.
Oh, maybe it's just the auditorium. My bad. So yeah.
Look, no.
I believe.
Take it.
I believe. Yeah. I'm just selling. I'm unintentionally like selling more to TikTok from the ICC. So tickets are of course on sale now. The 3-day passes are selling out real quick. Keep an eye on any updates. Look, we talked about the Designer Day. Different stuff that's going on at PlayCon. We're always going to have our events. We're going to have a whole heap of stuff. You're going to have great demos there. Designer Alley that we've talked about as well. And of course, it's just going to be bigger and better than the last 2 years. We're taking applications for Designer Alley and the Designer Day. So please, if you are interested, please apply for them. And if you're interested in volunteering at PlayCon, we can do 4 to 12-hour shifts. Knowledge of board game and experience at teaching is helpful, but it's not necessary. We're happy to teach you on the go. And we've got a couple of game days coming up. So we've got the Sydney Autumn Game Day at Castle Hill, the Castle RSL on the 14th of March. And we are working on a date for the Melbourne Game Day. So that will all be coming out soon. So please keep an eye on our socials. All right, so our question of the pod last week, and I said to Matt before we started recording, and then maybe Phil, that because Dana is obsessed with Joe's dating life, she wanted to know what are the best games to play on a date and why. Now, Matt and Phil, you are both very happily married, and of course, Phil, you do lots of game design with your lovely wife. So do you have any games that you like to sit down when you're spending quality time with your significant other that you like to play?
Well, the first answer is not a prototype. You have limited date prototype hours across your relationship.
I was going to say, yeah.
No, yeah. If we're just having an idea and we want to play a game, we will just play something that's super comfortable for us, which of late is a flip and write or a roll and write. We find they work really well because, they're not really usually very competitive. They're usually kind of a bit heads down and you just kind of can chat as you go and do your own thing. So we really like Matt's Next Station series. So we've played all of those. And I think they're really great for that because you get to know the map and you can kind of just go through it casually and then have a little running rivalry of who's got the highest score. And we just started the My City roll and build as well.
Fantastic.
So yeah, I think they're a good thing because they have this really nice comfort and familiarity and low mental load. So yeah, my answer would be grab a Flip and Write off the shelf.
Nice.
Yeah, but my wife and I, we used to play almost daily. It would be like do a breakfast game. So we'd always play something sort of over breakfast or just after breakfast. This was pre-child, so it doesn't happen so much at the moment. But if I think about the games, yeah, absolutely with the roll and writes there. We played a lot of the early NSV games a lot. We really liked Quinto, which I think was really great. Played a lot of Nockmal, which is called something else in English, which I can't remember. But it's by Inka and Marcus Brand from Schmidt-Spiele, exactly. But then on the other hand, there are a couple of other, I think, really great games that we must have played hundreds of times. Point Salad, fantastic 2-player game, I think. Does get a little bit cutthroat if you don't like that, because you know there are only 6 of each of the vegetables in the deck, and you're like totally invested in knowing, being very careful about presenting opportunities for your opponent to nab, that last carrot that you really need. And we played a lot of Fantasy Realms. So I'm not sure if many people play Fantasy Realms 2-player, but I've actually never played it not a 2-player, or maybe I played it once. And in my experience, it's a fantastic 2-player game. It has like variant rules where you build up your hand rather than swapping cards in and out. So it's actually quite a fun kind of push your luck sort of style game, because you're sort of not sure what you're going to draw from the deck, and if you and cards get put out in the middle as well. So do you add something to the middle that your opponent might want? So that has also been but they're all of those games, and with the roller rights together, they're all short, sharp experiences, 10 to 15 minutes. They have a very kind of predictable flow, and yeah, you can just kind of get into the mode of it. So I think for me, a date game is which is comforting, predictable, has the beats. It's why we like sitcoms, right? We know what the beats are, we know how it's going to go, how the rhythm will go in 20 minutes. I think exactly the same of date games.
They're great. Like you guys, just stop being so wholesome, please. So Joe, would you? Oh no, Dana, would you? Oh no. Lauren would. Okay, so it looks like it's just me. I'll read out.
What is your?
I went through it last week. That's the thing, right? That's what I was talking about. It's just white noise to people now. So I'll go through. So firstly, off of the book, Facebook, we had Guppy Jones. Something small and competitive with a rules teach will tell you all you need to know on your first date. That sounds brutal and a good way to not get a second date, which will come up shortly. Jessica Ewing says, I like cooperative games for a date night. It makes discussion and communication the focus. I wholeheartedly agree. I was argued with, but I think that's important. But for a first date, I would go something charming like Spots or Pina Coladas. Or is it Coladice? Simple, push your luck with low stakes. Cobus J. Van Wyck says something light and lean towards luck rather than skill, so they won't feel embarrassed for losing. Yeah, I think that's a good call. Brendan Paul O'Brien says, my girlfriend is American and in America, so our game nights are on BGA, and a few favourites are Azul, Cartographers, and Carcassonne. Carcassonne is a good one. I think Carcassonne's really good because it's slow and deliberate, right? Like you can see the one that's been put down, you're just putting them down, you get to make a turn. So they're not overly experienced in games. And, it's good. Or should I put it here? What do you think? You can sort of, and you can be a little bit of a jerk too, as Joe said in the last episode. Kieran Watson, and this is a nice story. In my experience, Telestrations upside down makes for a good second date / meet the family icebreaker. Maybe Jules can tell us more about that next time he's on the show. But I do love a cooperative game. Yeah. So Jules can tell it because it's his story to tell. But I do love a cooperative game for date night. We recently did a cold case and that was heaps of fun. And Shane Murray says, I'd say Standard Azul or Splendid Jewel. Just classic, simple, and not too intensive for the mood and conversation. And then off of Discord, Pibble Chuya. Don't know who that person is. I do, actually. It's my niece. Sausage Sizzle, I don't know. It's fun. Thanks for that. I won't doss you your real name, but you know who you are. Parrot X2 says, I think it's personal and depends on the type of person you're playing with. But I would say any co-op game would be great and have a laugh and work together as anything a little on the sillier side just because they are fun and enjoyable for everyone. I think it's very specific for your partner and what they are into, considering just how many board game genres there are, as well as how some of them are themed for a certain fandom or just more theme with a date. Chris Anthony, Chris. We play Vows on our wedding anniversary, a game I designed and gave out as wedding favours. We often play one of the other games, such as Prize Fighter. Prize Fighter waiting for food at restaurants. For its compactness and a quick play time. Poor Larissa having to sit through Chris's games for play testing. And some other favourites at home are Jaipur, Taji, Land versus Sea, and Hanamakoji, Geisha's Road. Kev1981 says escape rooms are our go-to date night activity. We love ones we can do at home, like Unlock and Post-Curious games. Thomas James says Sky Team, if you can pilot a plane, you can pilot a relationship. Okay. On date night, and then this is a Satellite Nova. On date night with the wife, because that never stops, it's mostly love letter, but sometimes it's wacky wedding woes, which my best man made for me and my bucks, which is a copy of Power Hungry Pets, which itself is an iteration of love letter, except all the cards are of the bridal party. JB says, what better game to play on a date than Gloomhaven? A nice co-op which is not going to hurt anyone's feelings, a cozy delving into a dungeon, bonding whilst fighting evil together. Good loot, wonderful. You can gift it to your date. A ring or maybe a shiny sword. How romantic. And then Manny says, if I bought a game to a date night with my wife, I would not have had a follow-up date. Oh, that's a bit sad. Sure, Manny. You're so hard done by. Okay, so Matt actually had a really good idea, as I'm dubbing both of you two honorary co-hosts, all right? You've been on enough shows. You've soldiered through this with me. So honorary co-host, not just friend of the pod, honorary co-host, Matt Dunstan.
Thanks, Conor.
What is this week's question of the pod?
So what is your favourite game or game mechanisms that you've seen outside of board games? So this could be on a TV show, on YouTube, on a game show. We'd just love to hear what are your favorite game or game-like experiences outside of board games and video games, like not video games either.
I mean, I think my one, and I talk about this quite a bit, is Survivor. Like Survivor for me is like the ultimate game, and I know it's got that tagline, but there's physical challenges. There's the backstabbiness. There's just surviving. That the overall theme of the show has kind of like changed over time. It used to be like, no, you literally have to survive out here, whereas now it's a bit more like, it's a game. But they've lent into that now, right? So they've got the different activities they've got to do, the challenges, the rewards, all that type of stuff.
I love the meta about it.
Yeah.
I love that
100%.
Survivor has gone so long that actually part of the game design is the fact that the players have now studied every Survivor show that's happened in the last 30 years and go in, the producers have to keep thinking of ways to surprise people or to play with expectations. You think about like what happens now versus like Richard Hatch winning way back in season one, which we're all old enough to kind of remember that, where he kind of broke the game in some way. Like he kind of figured out how to exploit the game by not really playing it in a way that they probably expected people to. He realized that he just had to be with someone else that everyone hated just a bit more than him, even if he'd backstabbed absolutely everybody to get to that point. No, I'm with you on Survivor. I said when I suggested this question, I just want to talk about the mole. I feel like newer generations in Australia have just, their life is poorer because they haven't seen the mole.
Thanks for our podcast, Matt.
Oh, okay. You want to talk about the mole?
No, just two men yammering about.
Are we just going to be? We're going to turn into a mole.
Don't be so good. Matt and Phil mole review. Yeah,
yeah. And I even met a relative of the person who created the mole originally.
That's so cool.
Like in Belgium, because it's still going in Belgium, 30 years or something. Like it's anyway. And I think the game design on that is just amazing. Like from the different challenges themselves to how the kind of betrayals work. And if you haven't ever watching the pod, if you have never heard of the mole, just look it up on YouTube. You'll have some amazing 90s television kind of moments, but I love it. What about you, Phil? How would you answer that question?
Well, I'll admit the first thing that came to my mind was the 1990s after-school kids game show.
Wait.
Amazing.
Yes!
Oh, so good. Oh,
amazing.
You're talking about amazing. I'm going to talk about something else. Yes, please continue.
And look, I'm sure if I watch it now, I'd go, this is pretty dumb. But, like, it felt like the most crazy thing to turn on after school and see these kids running around this customized obstacle course maze thing and have to find little keys while you're, like, screaming at the TV, you know? Because
It's over there! Why are you so dumb?
If memory serves, you knew, right? They had a map of where they were. And so you knew.
Not every, you knew where some of them were.
You knew where some were. So you could see this poor kid, you know, like searching through this room full of mud and slime or something, looking for a key, and you know where it is. But there was something just super creative I always thought about the layout they chose and the way they set up the physical space each time.
I mean, the actual maze was amazing. Like, was actually amazing. Yeah. I think, and how they used, because if I remember right, that even the geography of it, it's actually in a very confined space. It all like switches back on itself to fit in the studio, but the variety they got and like the kind of not animatronics, but you know, like stuff moved. There was smoke and sounds, and every kid I'm sure everyone you were the same. Like, you just wanted to go in that maze. Like, that was just. You wanted to experience. And they should open it up, and like that would be, if anyone's out there has the rights to it, reopen the maze. You would get this, you know, queue out the door of people to take their shot. You know.
So something I've learnt recently is that it was kind of based on a Nickelodeon show in the States called Legends of the Hidden Temple, which I've never seen.
That's the one I was going to talk about.
But it sounds It sounds like big budget, like actually American budget version of Amazing. And they're like exploring an Aztec temple kind of setup, and it has even more puzzles and moving parts to the game. But I remember hearing about that and thinking, oh, I bet the Americans do it even better. But I've never been able to track it down. It's probably on YouTube, I guess, if someone's uploaded old VHSs of it or something.
But then I have to say, you know, better to do the Americans than the Koreans, because then you have to talk about. Now we're just going to talk about games on. You kind of just cut it all, I guess. But like, you have to.
We need content, guys. We need serious content. So please continue.
I mean, Genius has anyone watched Genius? Either the original Korean or there was like a UK version of it. Okay, Go home, look up Genius. I hope I've got that right.
What about? I thought you were going to say Takeshi's Castle.
Oh,
remember Takeshi's Castle?
Yeah. Okay, well, that's Japanese, right? Is it?
That's Japanese. I remember there was one I remember seeing one of them where they had a maze set up, suspended over water, right? But the maze was made of these tiny little cubicle rooms, each with a few doors, right? And some percentage of these little rooms just didn't have a floor. So if you went through the door, you just fall into the water. And of course it's timed, and you absolutely have to be as quick as you can. So it's just round after round of people sprinting through these doors at full pace and randomly landing in the water. I'm sure the budget there was insane as well.
That's peak television there. It's well, plenty of that. Maybe that's what our podcast will be. It's just reliving 90s game show experiences.
And you know what I should bring back? Yeah. All right. So if you lost what the actual question of the podcast wasn't, that it's what's the best game you've seen in movies or TV, right? So we might reword that so it makes a bit more sense. Like, what do you mean? Like seeing Monopoly played on TV? It's like, no, like the TV show that ends up being the game. And Legends of the Hidden Temple, Phil, I remember being a young fella and I went over, we moved to the States and I turned on the TV and literally the first TV show I saw was Legends of the Hidden Temple. I was like, this is amazing on steroids. Like it was incredible. Yeah.
What an experience of America to have.
Yeah. It's like, and at that point, I really did believe it was the greatest country in the world. That's actually how good that was. But we would like you to tell us what your favorite game is, and you can do that through our socials. So if you would like to become a member of our Patreon, you can go to patreon.com/boardgamebarbecue to get access to exclusive episodes that we record just for you. There you go. That's a hint, guys. When you start your podcast, you can make a Patreon channel to make a little bit of extra kanga. Yeah.
Where we just talk about Amazing, you know, if only the kid had gone left on episode 3.1, you know, we'd all like.
So I just looked it up on Wikipedia, and it's reminded me that the winner who found the bonus key got a Game Boy.
Yes, that's week. Right.
Yeah. And there were 7 keys, and only once in the 4-year history of the show did someone find all 7?
Yeah, no one could find them, and they were so hard. And it was the same thing. And what they would do before the show was before they'd be like, here's the keys. So you would see it because obviously pre-recorded and things like that. But yeah. Anyway, so back to the plug. There are plenty of ways to support the podcast without donating. The easiest way, of course, is to tell your mates. You can go to Apple Podcasts and leave a star review for us, or use Spotify's new star rating system. You can get involved in the Board Game Barbecue community for joining and join our Facebook group, following us on X, Instagram, and of course when we upload our audio to YouTube. And there is the Discord community, one of my favorite places to hang out. The people who I talk about, the Mannies, the Toms, the Chris's, all those people I've met through Discord and spent time, and we talk about playing Overwatch together, and we do that through the Discord. So that's how great it is. So all the links are in the show notes. Now, something that I don't know if you guys have been on the show for yet. We have a segment called Fired Up. So this, and normally Dana does like a weird throat clearing sound, which I'm not going to do because it's Dana. But we're going to talk about something that we're fired up about. Now, I'm going to have a caveat. You can't do a cop-out and say you're fired up about the designer day. It's got to be something. So, Phil, what's got you fired up? What's something that you are looking forward to?
I'm looking forward to the 25th century upcoming re-release of Tigris and Euphrates.
Nice, yeah.
Because one of my favorite games, Ian O'Toole's going to do the art, and I'm just really interested to see this game come back into the zeitgeist, so to speak, to see people talk about it again. I'm not sure if it'll be quite as big as the Ra reprint was, but it was so nice to see such an old game that I've loved that I didn't really hear much about for a long time suddenly get this extra life. And everyone was talking about it and playing it again and appreciating it. And I really hope that happens for Tigris as well, because I think it's a fascinating game. Still feels very different from so many other things. And we just love for it to be back in the conversation and hear what people have to say about it in 2026.
Awesome. What about you, Matt?
Please hold. I've just got to find the name of it.
Okay, I'll come back to you. You can round out.
Yeah.
What I'm excited for is the Concordia. So Concordia is getting a schmick new edition. I don't own Concordia, so I'm definitely going to be looking at this. Awakened Realms, they do fantastic stuff. So yeah, I'm excited for that. So that's me for Concordia.
I am fired up about Walkable City. This is a new it's a game that will be coming to Kickstarter from Fowers Games are well known for games like Paperback and Heist, and this is a game by Taylor Schuss, and it's a cooperative push your luck game about building public transport in a car dependent city. And so players take on the roles of different modes of transport to build out networks for the people of the city to use. So as someone who doesn't own a car and has had to experience public transport in many different cities over my lifetime and now has to try and do that in Newcastle, I am super pumped for this, and I'm so happy for Taylor and Tim's amazing game designer publisher. So it's coming to Kickstarter soon. I think you can sign up to be notified. But that's Walkable City, the urban planning board game.
Awesome. Fantastic. Well, that does bring us to the end of the episode. And of course, I have to thank you two for joining me tonight, for helping me run solo. And yeah, it's been a blast. I can't wait to see you guys come PlayCon time. If you ever can come to the Sydney Game Day, that'd be fantastic. But I know you guys are super busy and you got lots on your plate. So yeah, once again, thank you for joining me tonight.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you, Conor.
And all the stuff you do for the hobby here. It's great.
No worries. And to our listeners, thank you so much for listening. Thank you for dealing with my white noise while you're listening to Matt and Phil talk. And we'll talk to you again soon. Okay, thanks for your time. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.